Hey everybody, it is the Trout, aka Rick Troutman, and welcome to the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today's episode features three sisters out of LA that started playing in a band back when they were really young. They said they wanted to get to the music scene and try to make their message of their own music heard by everybody. There was only one problem though. None of them knew how to play an instrument. So they decided, well, okay, we've got to learn how to play instruments before we can start recording, right? And start playing out. So they all took an instrument, a guitar, a bass, and a drum, and decided that's what they were going to do from that point on. And that's exactly what they did. They formed a band called Ramekega. Now you're probably saying, that's a weird name for a band, but the story behind it is very touching. These young ladies are fantastic about what they do, and they're on a mission to make great music for everybody to hear. And their story is very, very interesting and unique. So sit back and watch or enjoy this episode with three young ladies out of LA called Ramekega. That's next on The Trout Show.
The Trout Show is supported by David Smith with Edward Jones. David has years of experience of assisting individuals just like you with reaching their financial possibilities. There are times in our life that we come across financial problems and we don't know what to do. Maybe you had a relative that recently passed away and left you a large sum of money. However, you're not clear on what to do. If you live in the continental United States, I suggest you contact David Smith with Edward Jones at 469-372-1587. David can look at your situation and provide his expertise that he has been providing his clients for years. Don't tackle these situations by yourself. Contact David at 469-372-1587 to help you make decisions that are important to your financial situation. That's David Smith with Edward Jones at 469-372-1587.
Tell me the name of the band.
Ramekega.
Okay, and what does that mean?
It doesn't actually have any specific meaning. It was a username that our dad set up for us when we were little so that we could log into the video game Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So he put our sisters' names, like he took letters from our sisters' names together so that we would remember how to log in to play a video game. That was it. That was it.
And how old were you when that happened?
Oh my gosh.
She wasn't born.
So
You weren't even born.
I think I was like
three.
3.
Yeah, you were like 3. I was probably 8.
Very
and
old.
then 2 older sisters as well.
So how many kids are there in the family altogether?
5 girls.
5 of
We
all
are the 3
girls.
youngest ones.
Did
Yeah,
your
we're the
dad
three
ever? Did your dad ever go? I keep making the same mistake over and over again.
No, but he's just like,
He's like, those are so hard to raise.
because he grew up with brothers. So it was
And what's the age difference between the oldest to the youngest?
8 between us.
No, 5 between you.
I'm sorry,
5, wow.
sorry, 5 between us, and then
8 between me and
then
her.
between these two. Because
Okay.
I'm older, her, then she's the youngest.
And the eldest to her is about 16 years.
Yeah.
Oh wow! How old were you? And I read the information you sent me, which is fine, and I appreciate that. How old were you when you started? Kai, you weren't even around, or were you? I guess were you?
Well, I was born.
You were around, but you were
born
just a
when
little
they
kid. Okay.
I think around 12. I was like 12 or 13.
I think so, because it was 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the math. 2007. It's been a long time.
So I was 12 or
Around there.
13, and she was around 17 or 18.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
18 or 19, roughly.
So like teenagers, young teenagers.
And I read the story about your mother passing away and your dad passing away. But what was the draw? I mean, what was the thing that you had to say to yourself? Oh, let's get a band together. Had either one of you, Kelli or Gabby, had you started playing instruments, or you just kind of went, oh, I want to do something? I mean, you were young.
Right. Music was always in our family, and I actually didn't start playing the guitar till I was in college. But there was a guitar in the house, but it was my dad that played. I played a little bit of piano, but after our mom passed away and I came back home, writing was a way for us to kind of like heal, and it was a little therapeutic for us in that sense. And we didn't go, oh, let's just like start a band. It started music and songs just started coming out. Somebody told our dad, hey, are they a band? Because we just did like one small performance to show the kind of music we had. Like, are they a band? He's like, no, not yet. But then that idea started forming, and that's why we were thinking what band name, and the username came up because we could think of nothing else.
It's still a thing in our memory.
Well, it's clever.
It's
clever. It's just that you have to keep explaining it to people. And then when you explain it to them, they go, oh, okay.
Yeah, like that makes sense. Someone actually told us they thought it was it meant men in loincloth. I'm like, how did you get
like Japanese men in loincloth? I was like, huh?
I was like, I'm not even Japanese.
Japanese men in loincloth.
Yeah.
I'd go with that though. They go.
Oh gosh, just run with it. I feel like
I don't want to explain that.
And initially, we didn't like plan to have a band. It was more like, oh, so we have guitar. I need someone to do drums. Can someone learn that?
Like, I'll do it.
This would sound great with the bass. Can anyone learn that?
She'll do that.
I didn't want to do the guitars. I have no idea how people move their fingers individually.
And we cannot individually move our limbs,
So she got that. It was a process of elimination. I don't want to do this. You do it.
Well,
it sounds
it's
crazy.
funny.
But it's more like something to be together.
It's funny to me that you guys, when you do stuff like that, it's so out of the norm that people get started. And because, you know, and I appreciate that, because the fact that I interviewed a guy recently, he travels, he's a roadie, but also plays in a very famous band, does that for fun. He's kind of the guitar tech for a guy. And that's kind of the way he started. He had the guts to do some things. He's from Britain, but he lived in Canada for a long time. He had the guts one time to say, hey, they got a big concert in Toronto. I think I'll call them up and see if I could get a band together. And I mean, it was like, what? And he said, oh yeah, they said okay. And I'm like, but he said, do you have a singer? And they went, no. So just kind of fell into it, kind of like you guys did.
Yeah.
But then you kind of started getting better, and you said, maybe this thing's a little bit more than what we think it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be more than we originally started. Because I'm sure as siblings, it was fun to just sit down and kind of, hey, let's put some stuff together and fun.
That was. I mean, it still is.
Yeah. But then somewhere along the line, you said, oh, maybe we should make this more serious.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what kind of happened?
Definitely. As we started playing, we did it in the reverse because it was so new to us, this being a band thing. We actually started playing full-on 3-hour shows before we even hit up an open mic. Never heard of it until like a year later we were playing full-on shows. So someone's like, have you ever been in an open mic? Like, no. So we went, and someone had asked us, do you guys plan to do this in the long run? And we actually had to take a moment afterwards to sit down and discuss that. Do we want to keep doing this? Because the songs keep coming. But then I guess like you're also a musician and a songwriter, and when you write something, it's like, it's great when you hear it, but then there's like that feeling and that I don't know if the word is like impetus or like motivation to share it so someone else can hear it, not knowing how it affects the next person. But I think we decided if it keeps coming, the songs, we just keep going. And that's what we've been doing.
I like that philosophy. So when was the first time, it's been several years, you brought your first album out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was that, 2008? Yeah, it was 2008. 2010 for the second one, 2015 for the third one. So it has been a while since we came up with another album. Not that we don't have the music, but it's been, you know, how life happens, and obviously having to save up for it has been like a touch and go kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have it and then something happens and immediately the funds get transferred elsewhere. But
and especially taking the time off of work to actually record it properly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a struggle too, but it's still a process with that one.
Yeah.
Do you all work in the same business, or you all work in different places?
Different places.
We work in different places.
Okay. So you have a day job, as we like to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that pays for your fun job.
Yes.
If you could, here's a question for you, and I'm sure you thought about this. If you can make as much money as you do in your day job, would you quit it and do music the rest of your life?
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's better than doing what you love and getting paid for it?
It still is work. It's
Yeah,
just
it is,
more,
yeah, but
it's
it's
more
fun.
fun.
It's something that I enjoy
It's,
to work
it's
at.
not just, physical, it's actually emotional and it drains a lot more sometimes.
Literally everything we have learned in terms of like the technicality of recording or video editing, everything was that is because it was related to us moving the music forward. Literally, if it hadn't been for that, I don't think I would have wanted to pick up a manual about how to set something up or whatever. Other than that.
No. And you know what? You are proverbial DIY musicians because you started. Did you go to YouTube to start looking up how to do things?
I
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so everybody
So
starts
the
dabbling.
drummer learned the drumming
I
there.
had- no one in my family drums. I'm like, I don't want to play guitar, so I guess like go. And there's just me sitting, and my dad gave me his, the mouse pad. He ripped it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
This is bouncy. I'm like, okay, so there's me up like 5 o'clock every morning just like practicing the 40 rudiments before everyone else woke up. So yeah, that was me. YouTube.
So Gabby, who you said, oh man, this is the person I want to be like when I become a drummer? Or
That's hard because like I still have.
well, give me like 3 names of drummers that influenced you.
Okay, so I do like.
Drummer.
Surprisingly, not a lot of people know, but I do like Carole King when she actually played it.
Karen Carpenter.
Sorry, Karen Carpenter, because like I had never knew when I was younger, but when I saw her, I really loved Karen Carpenter. I like Joe Morello, and I can't help it, Sheila E. inspires.
Yeah, those are all good people.
And Ringo Starr.
And Ringo, but Sheila E. in heels.
She
played
does
high
play.
notes.
She does play.
She can do
stilettos.
She can do heels too.
She can do it too.
I did it just to prove to myself that I could.
What about you, Kai? Who is your bass person that you said, oh, I got to listen to this person? Who influenced you?
Initially, when we first started, I didn't have any influences that I looked towards. It was like, oh, we need a bassist. It's like, okay, I'll take it.
That's so funny.
Like her, I did look up some YouTube videos or like just some technique videos, like, oh, maybe I'll try that and incorporate it in a song. Sometimes it worked out, a lot of times it didn't. One I do like listening to, and I actually met him in person, very nice man, Victor Wooten.
Oh, great guy.
Yeah.
I never have had the pleasure of meeting him, but he's a phenomenal player.
I saw him play live maybe 3 times, and then the technique of how he does stuff, like I tried to learn it and incorporate, it's very difficult.
Well, he's one of those, I guess, when he played with Bela Fleck for so many years,
Yeah.
that's where I saw him. And he would do this weird, he was slapping too. I think he was doing
We
some
saw it
slapping.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
And he's just, well, Bela's not this, I mean, he's playing electric banjo for God's sake, so it's kind of like, the same thing. Victor, yeah, that's a pretty good person. Well, then Kelly, you're the singer,
Yeah.
and you said,
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you why I'm the lead singer. I like rhythm guitar. I'm not a lead guitarist. It's too clinical, too technical.
and you play, do you play like a Gibson 335, or what do you play now?
No, it looks like a Gibson, but it's actually it's an Ibanez. It's an
Okay.
Artcore series.
But it's a semi-hollow body, right? It's
Yes.
like, okay.
to
All right.
fashion after George Benson's Gibson.
Ah, there we go.
So for me, it wasn't so much more like, I mean, singers, I'll get to that part, but for me, I loved the rhythm guitar, and I didn't have a specific person to look up to in that way. It was the songs that I liked where I heard the rhythm that I was like, I want to try copy that. So like Tin Man, America, or all of the Motown stuff, their funk and groove of the way they're playing, I would listen to it over and over again. I would slow it down, and I would just memorize it and then get it to a point where I can keep my hand going and then sing. I love a lot of singers. And a lot of it's from the 60s and the 70s era, some of it from the 80s, but I like it.
Did your parents listen to that stuff?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. They listen. So we grew up on classical music, 1940s, like Gershwin and Cole Porter, and then also our parents' music. And we also like listening to some contemporary stuff. So it's all over the place, even if it's from another country. If it's good music, it's good music. So.
What kind of music do you play? What's your style? What do you tell them?
We tell them, just like for the set part, we tell them it's pop, rock, alternative,
Jazz.
and a little jazz.
So a
but
little
like-
bit of everything.
A little
little bit
bit.
of everything.
We don't do
Not
ska,
everything.
not screamo,
Or
No,
metal.
not ska.
metal. So
Well, I expect metal out of you guys.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine you playing a wah-wah pedal and doing,
All three of
Only
us
when I'm
banging our
angry.
head.
Only when I'm angry.
so,
Only alone in my room.
all right, so here's the question then. You impressed a contact we both know a long time ago. And I kind of understand part of it. What is holding you back from going to the next step?
Good question. I don't know if I'd say someone just holding us back, but priorities. I mean, our priority is music is a priority, but then there's also stuff that vie for it as well that becomes more immediate. So again, like when you have that life happens and you didn't really plan for it, it's something that you have to really attend to at the moment. And it's been a struggle. It's been so ever since 2007, it has been a struggle to get it to what others have called the next level. So we've had to come to this part where are we okay if if we want to reach for it this far, or keep going this way, what are we willing to, what resources are we willing to pull towards to get that done? And even if we have that ready, something happens, it's more immediate. And it's not an excuse, but it's like some things along the way have happened where it didn't allow us to go further. But then starting again from the beginning, because after our dad passed away, so little side note, he did a lot of stuff for us. He managed.
I had a feeling reading about it. He was
Right.
your stage guy.
Literally everything. And when he passed, he taught us how to take care of it. So after he passed, we had to take it up and kind of relearn what he had learned and go from there. So again, it was like we felt like we were starting from ground zero in that sense, but it wasn't so much ground zero where it's like we can't do it. We can do it, but now it just might be much slower than we had hoped. But we're still like we still get out there, we still play when we can. We still write music, and I think right now for us, our term of success is to continue to go and to stay together doing it, no matter at what level of success it happens to achieve. As long as we can get that music out there and share it with those that actually need to hear it, then we're fine. It doesn't need to be millions and millions of people. It just needs to be, I think, the people that need to hear it, but we don't know who they are yet until we get it out there.
Yeah, I understand. It's like fishing in a lake, in a big lake. And you're like, I don't even know what lure to use. I got one lure. This is the lure I use. And did that fish grab it? I think that fish stopped.
We had opportunities to join major labels. We had been approached before by Sony and another one from Warner. It's just that when we got into the room, like off the bat, the first thing they wanted to do was not
mini skirts.
I'm a
your
drummer.
hair.
All of our hair had to be cut here. All of us had to wear mini skirts.
And they wanted what, 50% of everything?
50. They wanted 51% of all the
51%.
copyright. And then the next thing they wanted to do was to remove our dad from the picture, which for us, we're like, if the first thing you mention is that, it's a no.
Oh, like that was always a thing. Mini skirts, cut your hair.
Yeah, something or other.
Leave your dad. Take half of everything.
And then they would approach me saying, would you ever think of a solo career? And it's like immediate shutdown with me, or the contracts they would give us. I like reading. So I'll spend hours or days, if necessary, reading every single line. And I would find that quote clause in perpetuity, and I'd like hand it back. No, thank you. Like, we don't want that.
I'm admire that. I admire that tremendously. Because I've known people, people sell their soul to get in the industry and do anything they want to do it. But the fact that you said no, here, then they were showing, here's the golden ring. Look at this ring. It's right here. This is it. You can have the golden ring. Well, you can have 49% of the golden ring. We keep 50%.
Some alloy.
Yeah. But when they start wanting to change you, and I've never understood this, you got where you got because of who you are, right?
Yeah.
And then to go in and say, well, we're going to change. Why would you, why do that? It does. I understand their point of it, but it's like, it's kind of the Disney model. We'll get them on their 12 or 13, and then, and then you make them change them into something. And when they get old enough to tell us we're too old, then you do whatever you want to.
Which is why we would, like, when they would say stuff like that, this has to change. This is what's hot right now. This is what's trending. You got to try to fit this. This is your window. You missed this opportunity, da-da-da-da-da. For us, it was because of the music we grew up with that has lasted for so long. Like, for instance, Todd Rundgren. Mm-hmm. I see Todd Rundgren in old videos, and I get the look, but I just close my eyes and it's forgivable. But then, or Yellow, the way you dress sometimes, but like the music, it's the music. And if that kind of music that we put out, no matter what our appearance is, if it could last generations, that's what we're going for. Mm-hmm. So whether they wanted to change. The part was, yeah, they wanted to change the look, which we weren't, but they also wanted us to change how we did the music.
They wanted
They
us
said,
to be
only
one
write this
genre.
way. I'm like,
One genre.
They
Either be
wanted
rock
us
or
to
pop.
change how we played. They wanted to produce in certain styles that we didn't really connect
Yeah.
with.
We played a jazz song, and one of the producers walked up to me. He's like, "I love this song. But when you play this, I want to see more passion. I want to see your sweat coming off." I was like, "In jazz?"
What? Or someone's like, this song could be like a really heavy metal rock song. You guys have the hair to do it. And I'm like, well, someone can cover the song maybe and do it that way, but this is our version of it.
There was someone who suggested to her, like, you gotta sing like it's all in your face, like nasally.
So please show me what you're talking about. But it was different because do you know Rascal Flatts?
Mm-hmm.
We have this song every day. So the original writer is Alyssa Moreno, and then our dad had put on a production where he would invite artists to come play, and Alyssa Moreno was invited. She sang the song every day because she wrote it. The way she sang it, it was her own way of doing it. And we heard people saying, "Oh, that's not her song. That's Rascal Flatts. I like theirs better." But my dad, and he's like, "This is her. She's the songwriter. And this is how she initially wanted it to be done." And it's such a different feel when the actual songwriter presented it. I like both. But when you hear hers, you hear the conviction. You hear this is how it was originally. And it's really special. We don't mind people covering it. We don't mind people changing it so they can relate to it. But then for me, I would like to hear how the original person wanted it to be done in the first place, because that's where it originated from. That's the soul of it first. And then you can, expand upon it.
I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, with putting out something that can be liked by different people.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing. I remember a friend of mine, I don't think it's my album before my last, which was I'm doing instrumentals now. But he says, "You sound like an old rocker." I go, "Guess what? That's what I am. I grew up as a rock person. I can't change that." So now when I listen to my albums, I go, "Well, is there any continuity here? Who cares?" I mean, who cares? I mean, if you like one song, it's okay. But I mean, the fact that it's sad, and I can see that probably affected you guys a lot, where you were approached by people like that, and then you probably sat back and went, "I don't know if this is what we want to do. We want to do it, but do we have to work with people like that?"
Exactly.
I mean,
We want to do it. I don't want to do it with you. that was the only.
But I believe there's people out there that you could work with that work with them.
Absolutely.
They're there. You just got to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the easiest thing to do, because there's, like I said earlier, there's so many people dropping music. I met with, it's been, oh my gosh, a couple of years now, a couple of very big wheels in Nashville. They came in they were doing something here in Dallas, and I met with them for lunch. And one of them owned a big PR firm, and the other one was the president and CEO of a very big label out of Nashville. They were probably late 50s, maybe. And I said to him, what's the difference now? Is it harder or easy to get in the music industry now than it is 20, 30 years ago? They all said it's harder.
Yeah, it's way harder.
Because there's so many people putting stuff out that it's hard to try to pull out what people want to listen to.
Mm-hmm. The algorithms.
And now it's all computerized as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm fortunate, excuse me, that what I do is if you look at my people, I've interviewed famous people, but I've interviewed a lot of independent artists that I think that are going to be, that I like. I'm doing one this week coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of Austin that I just really saw, he showed up on my algorithm. I think it was on Instagram. And his voice was like, "Oh my God, this is great. I love this guy." And does anybody know him that much? No, but I don't care. Because if I could give them an avenue, just like you ladies, an avenue for people to hear your story and go, "I think I'll go listen to them." And they go, "Wait, which one did you want to listen to? Jazz, the rock, the pop? I don't know, just listen." So where do you go? I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, I understand the hesitation, because John Lennon said what you said earlier, and that is, life happens to you when you're making plans. That was one of his great lines that he always came up with, which is you've said many times, Kelly. Life is what happens to you when you're making plans. Do you want to? I know this is a stupid question. I know you want to do it, but have you ever soul searched yourself and said, "What's really holding us back?" You don't have to answer me, but I mean, have you just sat back and go, okay, are we just going to continue to play what we're doing and we be happy with that? Or do we want to go to the next step?
I had thought, if it came to that part, what do I have to give up just to do this? And I have weighed that option. A lot of times it wasn't something I'm willing to do by myself. So altogether, we would obviously discuss that. And again, when life happens, something changes to that, and that factors into it. Is that also something you want to give up at the same time? And we've gone by and continued with almost nothing. So that's one thing. But then to have it all given, I think the best example I could put is when you mentioned fear of success. When someone gives us something of high value, I feel more like, thank you, but it's the responsibility of it. Take it back. But that's where we are right now. But definitely, we are slowly working to the part where we are putting ourselves more out there. We never used to, and I still have this ick when we self promote. I don't mind talking about our shows. We do this, we do that, but like how they'll say, "Oh, you got to put this and do it this many times." It's a struggle because we were never really raised to have that focus on us. It was always outwardly, what can you do for someone else kind of thing. So that's a process for us.
I can't even take a proper selfie.
Really? I can't. It looks ridiculous.
It's like on my face.
It's like a smile or a goof.
It was, I gotta tell you real quick. I was invited to a Recording Institute thing happened here. It's all the Grammy nominees in Texas. I was invited to it about a month ago. And they had 3 different performers. A friend of mine invited me. So all these people are there. There wasn't anybody famous. If there was, I didn't know who they were. And I really liked this one lady that performed. She recorded a lot of stuff, but then she played keyboards and she she was looping a lot of stuff and playing guitar and all this. I liked what she did. So I kept telling a friend of mine who was with me, a guitarist, I said, I need to ask her if she'll be on my show. So he goes, well, there she is. I walk over, and there's a guy probably a little bit younger than me. He says, hey, can I get a selfie? And he's, and I said, dude, give it to her. She's like 20-something. And she knew, it was like that. It was so funny because it's like, with me, it's like, I don't do very well. Here, you're 20. You do it so we can get it done. I give it to my granddaughter. Here, take my selfie with me. But what I see in you guys, and it's funny because the fact that I understand everything you're saying, I get it. And now, so from a personal level, are any of you married? Do you have any children?
Going to
I'm
be
going this year.
To be.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So life happens.
Well, that's a tough gig. If you start becoming a traveling band and all that stuff, you have a family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most of the people I know, most of them are single. The big names, or a lot of them are single. They just, they may have, some of them do keep their wives with them or spouses with them. So tell me about the scene out there is trying to get gigs. The last time I talked to somebody, they said it was stupid how hard it was to get gigs.
Oh,
It's not
well,
it is. It's still if you're talking about the scene out here in LA to get gigs. It's still,
you're in a band and you're trying to get gigs just to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
How hard is it?
sometimes it's hard because like if it's not a bar, it's like a really, really far festival that's not actually promoted. Or it's just like
Or they want a certain type of music where we have in a bigger expanse, like you don't quite fit with the sound and the vibe of the place.
There's that. But the ones that we do get, we've worked with in the past, they love the kind of songs we do anyway. So we'll get those gigs. And we weigh the options of whether we do free ones or not free ones. At
That's
this
what
point,
I was going to
we're
ask you.
I was like, at this point, I just kind of want to play, because we also do paid ones. Getting those is not as easy. It never has been. We don't like the pay to play option.
I don't know why I'm paying you for me giving you entertainment.
Yeah, and I understood it's pretty common. That's pretty common out there.
Yeah, that's been
pretty
hard,
common.
especially especially when we would earlier when we would play in LA. Actually, a funny story, the Roxy theater.
Hmm.
At one time they were looking for bands to play, so we said, okay, well, we'll submit our names and see. And then they said, well, it's a pay to play. And they said, oh, but we don't do pay to play. And they were 2 weeks out from having a show and they were missing an act. So we told them, we don't want to do pay to play. So we said, okay, fine, you don't have to do pay to play, but are you gonna take this date? So we took the date, and
Tickets.
and we did sell tickets, but we not that we had to, pay it to play or whatever.
Yeah.
People who came, they just came because they heard, and they liked it so much they asked for us twice back, 2 more times, and still on the no pay to play option. But the third one, we just the drive, the drive in the parking was too much, so we let a friend.
So how
a
long
friend-
does it take you to get the Roxy? An hour? How far is it?
An hour, maybe like an hour and 20
On
with
good
traffic.
traffic.
Well, do you? And I know LA traffic, so it's not how far it is. How long does it take you to get there?
Right.
Yeah.
We go anytime. It takes about like
An hour.
hour and a half.
Yeah. And we don't mind traveling. It's just like it has to be, is it worth it after all the logistics? We love playing live more than anything. So for us it's what do we got to do this? And booking isn't so much a hard thing right now. Everyone is struggling for the live shows, but there are openings that we have, and then people that we've worked with in the past that are continuing to work with us, which we really appreciate and we're grateful for that. Further on, like the bigger festivals, there is what gets us is now just logistics, because we were invited to come try play the what was that? Actually, it's in Texas. What is it called? South by Southwest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was great to do the South by Southwest one, but like it's just not logistically. We got to bring everything. Then we
Well,
have to
it's yeah. You got to
Yeah.
travel. It's a long ways. You got to fly or
Exactly.
drive, and you don't want to drive 2.5 days to get there.
right, and then the
No,
equipment, because like the
And you don't want somebody else's back line. You want your own stuff. I understand. all that
exactly,
stuff.
and then place to stay, and then I know you don't get paid, but you get access into everything. But then this person who was asking us, on top of having that opening, was also asking to be paid. Right? No.
So what's your next steps? What are you doing now?
Well, right now we're preparing for a few shows.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have
cool.
shows coming up near the end of this month, and then one next month. And excuse me, as we mentioned before, we are launching our website, which should come out sometime in February or so, early March or February. And from there, kind of just like funnel the attention towards that, so that when we put out recordings, it's a little bit easier to promote it from that central place. We do have an idea to record another album, maybe sometime this year. Right now, a lot of our focus is this one's wedding, because she has her planning. But that hasn't stopped the music thing. We do want to have some recordings done, maybe an EP, but digitally recorded music of ours, not a whole lot out there. You're right. Because it's only I think only 36 or so songs. But when people see our live shows, that's where they hear the majority of the stuff. Well, actually not the majority, but like a lot of the other stuff that we
There's
have.
some videos.
Yeah, there's videos. So that's right. Right now, that's our way of being able to like copyright it and show that these
Yeah.
are the other songs we have.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, I like that song or I like this song. So maybe not an EP, maybe another full-on album of the songs that people actually wanted to hear. Working on that one, but because we have our little studio thing, it allows us to sort of at least get a demo of it out there, or at least what we want it to sound like before we do any more recording.
Kai, you are a typical bass player. You never say anything.
I'll be like, if I poke you, say something. Speaking.
I'm glad you said that, because
No,
usually it's
it's
people
just-
telling me to say something.
And I
It's so
tell you
typical.
sometimes.
I could just see her back there playing her thing and going, "Hey,
I have gotten that comment a lot, like, "Oh, you move a lot, but you don't like
I'm
I
a-
can."
I'm a bass player. Get over it. That's what I do. I'm a bass player."
You're like, I'm the mood section.
Hear me, don't see me.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. A very special thank you to the three sisters that talked to me from Ramekega. And if you'd like to know more information about them, you can find them on Instagram at Ramekega, Ramekega, Ramekega. That's their Instagram handle. And I hope you check them out for more information. Special thanks, of course, to David Smith with Edward Jones. Continue supporting our channel. We appreciate it very much, David. And if you'd like to know more about the Trout Show, all the things that are coming up, and shows that we've already taken place, we have another part of our podcast now called Vinyl to Viral, where I talk about music industry stuff. So I hope you can check that out too. It's very short, only about 10 or 12 minutes. So until the next time, people, you know what I always say. It's only rock and roll. But I love it. See ya!